Welcome back, everyone. Amanda here, recapping more of my cross-country flight, driving across the United States and trying to fly in each state that I go through. So after I left Texas, the next stop was Louisiana. And as I drove into Louisiana, there was terrible weather. And I was a little discouraged because I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fly in Louisiana. The weather was really bad. It didn't look promising, but I really wanted to fly in Louisiana. And as I got to the last exit of Louisiana, and I said, well, the rain had stopped. It was sunny. I hadn't seen an exit for miles. And I said, okay, I'm gonna try it. Let's see what is here. So I got off the exit and I pulled in, and there was nothing but a convenience store and a farm that sold farm equipment and had a cornfield in the back. And I am a super shy person, and it's not the normal for me to be bold and go and approach someone and try something new, but I thought I have to ask if I can fly over his farm. So I went in and I asked him, explained what I was doing, who I was with, and asked him if it was okay to fly. And he said, absolutely. And I said, I can get your card and give you the footage, whatever you would like. And he said, no, not at all. Just go out and enjoy yourself. So I said, okay. So I went out and checked all of my apps and made sure that the airspace was good to fly in. And I got my stuff out and I got ready because it was good to go. And the winds were a little bit stronger than I thought they would be, but it was not bad at all. So I took off. And this cornfield was so beautiful. The sun just continued to come out stronger and brighter. And I was in awe. I was like, this is happening. I'm actually getting to fly in Louisiana. And it was beautiful. And there was silos on the other side of the cornfield, and there was farm equipment all for sale along the road. And I just took that time to really enjoy the flight. I embraced the moment. I played around with a few of the new techniques that I had seen on some YouTube videos overnight. Spinning and trying to descend while you spin, just trying something different, and baby steps in my drone journey. And so it all worked out really well. I think I got some pretty good footage in Louisiana, and I am super thankful for that last exit there to be able to stop and fly and enjoy the beautiful state of Louisiana. So after packing up from Louisiana and getting back on the road, it was time to head into Mississippi. And Mississippi is a special state for me. It has a lot of meaning. That is where my dad and all of his family is from. And so many of my family live in and around the Louisdale, Mississippi area. And it just so happened that my track home to Florida was going to take me right through Louisdale. And I wasn't sure if my timing on traveling would line up to be able to stop there, but it just so happened that it did. So I love when I get to drive into Louisdale, Mississippi, because our Havard and Eubanks family is known there. And it's so neat because there's sometimes you can see signs that are like Havard General Store and things like that. And so to me, that is just so cool because here in Florida, we don't have that. And so I love going back to his hometown of Louisdale, Mississippi, and being able to visit. And since I was going through, it was getting close to evening. I called one of my aunts. No one knew I was coming through. And I said, hey, driving through, is it okay if I stay with you tonight? And she's like, sure, come on over. So I went over to my aunt and uncle's house, and I was able to visit and enjoy. But as soon as I got there, it was the start of sunset. And I said, oh, it's so beautiful. They have ponds on their property and farmland all around, and it's right outside of town. And I said, I want to visit, but do you mind if I take a second to go fly for a little bit? And they're like, sure, go. So I took their golf cart and went down, and I was able to fly over. They have a little small pond, and then there's a larger pond next door to them. I was a little nervous at first because it's over water, and I haven't flown a lot over water yet. And so I was like, what happens if it just comes down and crashes into the water? So I was a little nervous, but I took off, and in the smaller pond, I noticed that when I took off, the winds were not an issue. And I went out, and when I got over the pond with the trees surrounding it, the wind gusts were a lot different, and it affected the drone differently. And so I used up a lot of battery there because I was able to play around and navigate and try working with the winds and what direction to go and how to maneuver the drone to work with the winds that were happening. So I really enjoyed flying over the smaller pond, and then I had like one battery left. So I went down to the larger pond, and the sun was starting to set, and it was a beautiful golden hour. And so I flew some there and made my way across the field and the larger pond. And I really enjoyed that as well. So I was so excited to, first of all, be able to stop in my dad's hometown and visit at least one of my family members on the way through, but also to get to fly right there and get some footage in such a familiar place for me was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that. We have our family reunions up there, and so it's just a place that we've called a second home for so long, and so that was a nice opportunity. Went back, visited, and slept, got a lot of rest, and I charged all my batteries overnight, got everything downloaded off the SD cards, and the next morning I was up and ready to go, bright and early. And so I hit the road, gave everybody love, told them thank you, and I headed down to Pascagoula, Mississippi, because I wanted to get the coastline at some point. I knew once I got into Alabama and Florida, I didn't know if I would get the opportunity. So I went down to Pascagoula, and where I went, there was a hospital nearby, ways away, and there were some flight restrictions. And so I wasn't quite sure if I would be able to fly or not, but there was a very small window to be able to fly in, so I did. And as I'm setting up the drone, a group of people walked by, and they were from like an assisted living facility. And they all were fascinated by the drone and wanted to know what I was doing. So I explained, and I asked them, if it would bother them if I flew right there, because they were going to go play a game of volleyball, and I didn't want to disturb them. So they said, no, absolutely, go right ahead. And it was so fun because again, out of my comfort zone, they're asking me questions, and I'm explaining what I was doing and what the drone was. And a lot of them didn't understand how something that small could fly and that it had a camera on it, and they wanted to see how it worked. And so it was really fun and exciting for me to be able to share what knowledge I have so far with them. And so a couple of them were so inspired and excited, and they didn't even play volleyball. They sat and watched while I was flying. The winds were really strong out on the coastline, and again, I couldn't go very high at all, but I wanted to make sure that I got a little bit of the coastline on my trip across the country. So I enjoyed being able to fly there in Pascagoula for just a moment. And again, that's a town that when we're in Mississippi, we always go down to Pascagoula and enjoy the beach for a day. And that was exciting and fun to be able to say that I did that in such a special state to me. So after Mississippi, it was time to head through the little bit of Alabama that I traveled through on the way to Florida.